Hi, animal communication for beginners. How to communicate with animals like Artos in 5 easy steps. In this video, I will simplify the process to give you an easy start to animal communication so that you can also know the joy of animal communication. Um, and did you know that there is a particular way to set up the questions that you ask an animal during animal communication to make the conversation easier and more productive? Anyways, just hang on. I'll get to that soon. Well, Artos is cleaning my hand for me. Welcome. My name is Marinda. I am an animal communication coach. I'm author of the book, The Delight Method of Animal Communication. And like you, I just love animals. You can't help but love cute Artos. Isn't he just the cutest? My cutie. Anyways, okay, so I'm going to get right to it. First step is to prepare the questions. Get a photo of the animal you're going to chat with. You can get that photo in any format. Somebody can send it to you via WhatsApp, Telegram, or email, or whatever. Distance is irrelevant. Don't have to worry about that. People sometimes ask me, but are you going to come out to talk to the animal? I said, no. I work off of photos, and it actually works very well for me. I have consulted for people in the US, in the UK, Europe, South Africa, Australia, all over. And I actually sometimes think that distance even makes it easier. Anyways, so the next step is to simply write down the questions. And also I suggest that you write them down in a particular order. So I call them warm-up questions. Ask nice, friendly questions first, like, hey, how are you doing today? What do you like eating? Now just imagine that you're walking in the street and some stranger comes up to you and says, hey, what's wrong with you? Why do you bark at strangers? I think you might take it amiss. I know I would a little bit. So that's why I suggest that we start with warm-up questions, where you first ask like friendly types of questions, such as, how are you today? What do you like doing? What do you like to eat? And here's a pro tip for you. Make the questions open-ended. It gives the animal an opportunity to elaborate. It also makes for a more nuanced answer. So yes, no questions can be restrictive, and I tend not to use them. For example, instead of asking, do you like going to the vet, which results in a yes-no answer, like the animals say, no, don't like going to the vet, that doesn't tell you much more of how you can deal with the situation. So I rather ask, how do you feel about going to the vet? Then the animal can elaborate on their feelings, and your chances of finding a solution are much better, because that's your ultimate aim, isn't it? Is to make life better for the animal and easier. So I could ask Artos here, do you like going to the vet? And it might say, no, but I do like the bit where you give me lovely treats when I go to the vet and while I'm at the vet. Right. So once you've asked the warm-up questions, it's time to get into the troubleshooting part. Your client will usually provide you with a troubleshooting question. So you can imagine if somebody calls you and they've got an issue with their dog, they're not going to say, okay, I want to know what's my dog's favorite food. They usually go like, okay, so why is my dog pulling on the leash? Or why is my dog depressed and lying in the corner? Or why does my dog bark so hectically at strangers? So when a client gives me just the troubleshooting questions, which happens quite often, I simply just go ahead and ask the friendly questions myself. I usually ask the client if they mind or not. I never mind. And that just gives you an opportunity to kind of get to know the animal before you get to the nitty-gritty and the more difficult part. Also, I have found another benefit of adding these friendly questions. It often gives the person of the animal involved confirmation that you are indeed in contact with that particular animal. I'll say something like, oh, they really love chasing squirrels in the wood. And then the person say, yes, I went walking with my little Yorkie in the woods yesterday, and he was very happily chasing squirrels. So it just puts it in a nice, firm footing. Some other examples are like when you say, oh, yeah, sure. Lots of animals nowadays ask for more greens in their diet. So actually take note of that. And so the confirmation that you get is something like, oh, yes, this one likes green vegetables. And yep, that one is a squirrel chaser. Yeah, I once chatted with a dog who loved looking for bears to chase. That's a dangerous hobby. Once you've asked the warm-up questions, it's time to get into the troubleshooting bit. Troubleshooting questions might be something along the lines of, why do you bark so much? While this might give us a useful answer, we also need to figure out what will help the dog to bark less. Perhaps the dog barks to get rid of excess energy, or because she doesn't get to go out for walks often enough. We don't know. We can find out. And if you want to provide a really good service to help both the dog and the mum to be happier together, you might ask the dog to suggest some alternative activities that she would really like. If she suggests it, obviously she will like it, and then it will just be a happy solution for her. If the dog doesn't suggest alternative activities, you might also want to suggest some yourself. And this is why I also encourage animal communicators to study animal behavior, as well as force-free science-based training methods, such as positive reinforcement. Second step is to set your intent. I recommend setting your intent for the conversation before you actually have the conversation with the animal. In my book and courses, I devote an entire chapter to the power of setting intent. So if you'd like to find out more, just click on the link below this video. An example of an intent might be, my intent for this conversation is that it will be for the greater good of the dog, the good of his family, and overall for the greater good. Speaking of good, in just a moment I will tell you why it is good for animals to touch the earth with their feet. And Atlas wants to go off and do exactly that right now. The third step is to meditate. Do any meditation you like, keeping the animal that you're going to talk to in mind. We all have our own preferences. Any meditation, as far as I'm concerned, is good meditation. I usually place myself in a column of light which originates from the heart of the earth and from the heaven. I let the energies from heaven and earth mix in my heart. And then I expand the love in my heart towards the animal I'm going to chat with, creating a channel of love between us. But you can follow whatever you're most comfortable with. Then the fourth point is to actually have the conversation. So once you've finished your meditation, just open your eyes, look at the first question in front of you, and write down whatever you get. What you get refers to whatever pops into your head, or any bodily sensations that you experience, or any pictures that you see, things that you hear with your internal ear, or emotions that you feel. Sense yourself for all of those and write it down as an answer to the question. And once you've filled in at the first question, you just carry on to the second and the third and so on until you're done. We can get information on all of these levels. Audio, by hearing the animal's voice in your mind. Visual, by getting pictures. Feeling, by feeling sensations in our bodies. And sensing, by feeling the animal's emotions, like you fleetingly experience those emotions, and more. But let's stick to the basics for now. Some of us tend to pick up more in a certain area. For instance, you might predominantly hear the animal's voice, or like in my case, I mostly see pictures. There's no right or wrong in the way you receive the information. Just go with what you get and remain open to receiving information through all your senses. And as I've mentioned in a previous video, it's important not to censor yourself. You can go and check my video, 5 mistakes that are easy to make with animal communication, for more information on that. Anyways, I'd love to know if you've got any questions about animal communication so far. If you do, type your questions below. And also, if you want to, there's a link below to subscribe to my newsletter. And that way you can find out more about animal communication. Right, so now you've had your conversation, and now it's time to give feedback to the animal's person and to interpret what you got. During the conversation with the animal, you wrote down what you got, but now you can also add interpretation while you discuss the results of the conversation with the animal's mum. You'll find out that you spark ideas off of each other while you're talking to the mum. For instance, one cheeky little cat went on a walkabout, and his mum was understandably very anxious about his absence. He said, the cat, that he was happy to go home. He just wanted to have a bit of an adventure first. He also mentioned that he wanted to play outside more. And when I spoke to his mum, I found out that they were living in a flat, so he didn't really get that much nature time. So it was very important for him to be able to touch the earth with his feet. So it sounded a bit to me like he was negotiating. So I added this interpretation. I said to her, I think your kitty is negotiating for more nature time, and so on. And she perfectly understood. It was actually awesome. However, their circumstances were such that he couldn't play outside much at the moment. But the great news was that they were going to move to a new home where he would have lots and lots of space to play outside. I relayed this message to him, and there were a few more twists and turns to the tale, but he ended up making himself visible so that he could be found, and he got home safely again. Here's another pro tip for you. Please note that it is very important for animals to have regular contact with the earth, and I'm talking about horses, cats, dogs, all kinds of animals. If you have indoor cats and you're not going to move house soon, and they don't have access to the earth, touching the earth, please consider building your cats a catio or training them on a leash so that they can get into contact with the earth. Why is contact with the earth so important? Well, I think there are several reasons, and I'm going to mention 3, but I'm sure there are more. I get the idea that animals ground themselves when their feet touch the earth, just like we humans do. They get beneficial energy from the earth, which helps them to stay healthy. And it also helps them to discharge excess negative energy. If you know more ways, please drop a comment below. Let me see what you think, why they need to put their feet on the earth. And for the same and also many other reasons, it's a good idea for horses to go barefoot. Not only do they get to touch the earth like they're meant to, but they can also use their proprioception better. Proprioception is that feeling where to put your limbs, like when we're walking. We don't have to watch our feet the whole time to see where they are going. We put our feet down and we sense where we're putting our feet via proprioception. Okay, so this is my simplified version of how to start with animal communication. There is quite a bit more to it, there can be. And if you're interested in learning, please have a look at my website. I'll leave the links below. Right, and here's another way to help make your doggy happier. You can get a free booklet, 5 magic ideas to improve your dog's happiness now. Just click on the link below this video. I think Artos thinks it's a good idea. It's trying to take the words out of my mouth. Anyway, so the link is pinned in the comments. And please give this video a like if you enjoyed it. Thanks. Have an awesome day. Bye.